you're not gonna see my face. Hi, this is Ann Liang's vlog video thingamajig. I just drove in the fucking rain into a city and I crashed out. Not actually crashed. I crashed out about 5,000 times because Jesus fucking Christ, never again. If I did not, because I think you have to spend money, obviously, for the ticket with this event, and I'm like, well shit, I definitely have to go. I mean, I would have anyway, because, you know, I just bought more of her book, so, you know, here I am. So, this is a quick little outfit moment. I decided to go a little more scholarly looking because I noticed in her Instagram she looks snazzy, looks nice and proper and neat. Nothing like this, because this is like Wednesday Adam vibes and not classy I'm rich vibes. Anyway, I'm about to walk in the rain, but thankfully I always have a umbrella in my car, so fun.
doesn't deserve friends, doesn't have friends, is like unlikable. To see her making friends with everyone was so nice. But this is a romance. So, you kill a romantic tension for everyone here that has their sassy books will agree. So what do you think is the key to writing a good romance, and how do you create chemistry between your characters? Because they all have instant chemistry as soon as they hear.
I think so. See, I find that also the really tricky thing with chemistry because there's no like set formula. Like you never know until it's on the page. And I feel like it applies in real life too, right? I was actually recently just talking to a friend about this where she's like, I tried to set these two people up, and on paper it seems like they would be like this perfect match, like they have similar hobbies and like they want like similar things in life, but then they meet and there's just no spark. And we were talking about how it's so hard to like predict that, like how like these two people are going to like interact and shape each other and like what you feel. But I think that's also what draws me to romance. Like if there actually was a formula or a way to know exactly like who is the perfect match for who, like that would be incredibly boring. Like, I think romance, because it's so unpredictable and it's so hard to come by, and because it's like sometimes even really like illogical. Like maybe all these don't make sense together, but then just like when you're around them, like you really feel like you're like seen in like a different way. I feel like that it was very magical. It's like it's just that little like spark. And so like with my characters, a lot of it really also just happens like on the page as I'm like writing these scenes, just like trying to figure out like what they're like. Basically like I need to know them by putting them in actual situations. Like I've tried in the past doing very detailed outlines and really hard to like this and this, and then in the end it wouldn't work. Like I would just end up with a bunch of like dot points that were like, and I would just leave it because I realized that I need to actually be writing these exchanges and then like do like editing and like just a lot of like time just like fiddling around with it. Like you kind of finally get to like where the relationship needs to be.
Yeah. Have you ever had to like rewrite a character or like rewrite a couple that you feel like wasn't working? Have you ever had to like pick, like have you ever been like writing one and just been like, this guy's awesome here? Or write something?
I feel like I have a tendency where if something isn't right with like the premise or the character, then I just like abandon the whole manuscript. Like it's very it's very melodramatic because this one person isn't looking, like you don't exist to me anymore. That's essentially what happens. So I just end up with a bunch of like draft manuscripts.
That's which one that do you ever release those characters, or you
No, they're actually dead. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so
Like I'm in a position where I turn to other writers for advice because a lot of us I think we're just like we're trying to figure it out as we go, and it's like it's hard. You never really know because there's so many factors outside your control. I think one of the first things I realized when I started to really want to get into publishing was how much of it comes down to luck and timing, and sometimes it can be a bit like dispiriting to know that it's like you could try really hard and even like write a book that you're very proud of, and it might not necessarily get the result that you want. But in another sense, I feel like knowing that made any rejections or anything that didn't work out feel a little less personal. Like I feel like if you're a writer, it's very easy to give up, especially in the beginning when you are faced with rejections, to feel like if you don't get the book published right away, or if someone doesn't like the book, that might mean that you're not like cut out for it, or you try something else. But honestly, a lot of time it's simply about like an alignment of taste. Like an agent or an editor, like they just might not feel like the project is something that they personally are really interested in, but that doesn't mean that they won't work with somebody else. Also just things in terms of like we really have to control all with like the market and like what stories that the publishers are looking for at a particular moment in time. And I think that's why I always try to tell myself like I think the noise from like publishing can be very loud and there are so many factors at play. But then I also remind myself that at the end of the day it comes down to really like enjoying the process. Basically like the process is the point. Like if you're going into publishing and people are like, oh my god, imagine being an author and like being rich. Sorry. And like a lot of people are like, oh my god, like as an author, you must be like a millionaire, like flying around like business class and like writing little stories and like
circling St. Louis for 3 hours. Story.
And like